In response to the Newsweek coverage on September 14, citing a scientific paper published on Zenodo that the CCP's military lab produced the novel coronavirus, Global Network article, U.S. lawmakers proposed a resolution that called on the U.S. to resume diplomatic relations with Taiwan and to end the One China policy. Hu Xijin said Chinese soldiers suffered fewer casualties than India during the conflict in the Gallivan Valley on June 15th, but a few Chinese soldiers died. Central Bank's deputy governor said the digital yuan bears no interest. The comment was actively browsed on Weibo and the internet is on fire. The Chinese Academy of Sciences said that it transformed tech bottlenecks and foreign export restrictions into a list of tasks to do. A Spanish media claimed that CCP hackers stole vaccine info from labs. When being responded, Communist China is leading the world in vaccine research and development, no need to steal. An Indian media said the CCP was surveilling India dignitaries. The Chinese embassy to India responded, they can always create reasons if they want to make false accusations. Hu Xijin threatened if the U.S. Secretary of Defense visits Taiwan, the CCP should launch missiles flying over Taiwan's presidential palace. Eastern Theater Command said, put aside illusions and prepare for battle. In Harbin, the comment that the CCP government will not pay hospital staff pensions triggered protests. If a vehicle carries passengers, it will be ticketed by the Transportation Bureau. If a vehicle carries cargoes, it will be ticketed by the Traffic Corps. The CCP's fines are robbery. The CCP controls all fine collection. A child in Changsha City, Hunan, took a sip of the milk and felt it tasted bitter. His mother cut open the milk carton and found the milk was rotten, but the milk product was still within its warranty period. How many children cannot afford to go to school in China under the CCP's rule? Who deprived their right of going to school? This is the food in a primary school's cafeteria in Huangshi City, Hubei. Only one dish. The CCP vigorously promoted the commune, stating that anticipating in a commune is an effective way for small families to resist market risks. The CCP spread the propaganda that peasants could benefit from buying fertilizers through the commune, so peasants supported the deal. On September 18th, Ren Guoqiang, a PLA colonel, said, starting today, the PLA's Eastern Theater Command will hold military drills in the sea areas near Taiwan. This is a necessary action to protect national sovereignty and territorial integrity. A Chinese media reported that India continued to send more troops near the Tibetan border. They were preparing for war.
警察部队都做好了部署在冲突地区的准备，与印度陆军一起守卫的边境警察部队已经派出新的部队部署到拉达克， 与拉达克地区的30多万印度陆军山地战部队和装甲部队不同，边防警察部队不隶属于印度国防部，而是由印度内政部管辖和指挥。根据近3个月的印媒报道分析，印度边境警察部队在拉达克地区的规模超过5万人。除了印度陆军和边防警察部队，特种边境部队和阿萨姆步枪队也在拉达克地区部署了特种作战部队。
U.S. Secretary of Defense Mark Esper has brought up the need to build a collective security alliance in the Indo-Pacific region, referring to North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, as a good example. Speaking at a seminar organized by U.S. think tank RAND Corporation, Esper said on Wednesday that the U.S. should pursue multilateral cooperation rather than one-on-one alliances to deter conflict with China or Russia.
Thousands of people in northwest China have been infected with the bacterial disease brucellosis after a leak at a biopharmaceutical company last year. The Health Commission of Lanzhou said as of September 14th, 21,847 people have been tested and 3,245 people have contracted the disease. The disease can cause headaches, muscle pain, fever, and fatigue, but many of those infected claim they're not getting the adequate treatment they need.
You saw the other night, you had Dr. Yan on from China as a fact witness on the weapons labs over there, and also wrote this amazing paper. What Twitter did is ripped her Twitter account down right away. They took her off Facebook when they had to replay your show that was on fire throughout the world. But they allowed the Chinese Communist Party to beat down on her every second with all of their running dogs.
We can let people sue, Tucker, and we can let people like Dr. Atlas sue when YouTube takes their videos down. Dr. Yan, when her Twitter account gets canceled, she's deplatformed, we can let her sue. Right now, they can't. They can't sue. Nobody can. If you get discriminated against on the basis of speech by these platforms, you have no recourse because of the law that Congress has written. This is the heart of the sweetheart deal that big tech gets from big government, and it is time to end it. That's how we can get their attention, and that's how we can give power to individuals and users and Americans and take power away from big tech.
Tomorrow's news today on War Room Pandemic. In fact, when we started pandemic, it was 6 months news on day one. Bill Gertz in the Bill Gertz. We're going to get to Dr. Yan and everything. The next hour will be a China hour. Bill Gertz, a huge story in the Washington Times today, talking about other defectors coming from labs in Europe to talk about the biological weapons program of, yes, you got it, the PLA, People's Liberation Army, and the Chinese Communist Party. It's an open secret. I mean, they're running around beating on Dr. Yan. Hey, it's an open secret. Five Eyes. Sherry Markson reported from when she was at the Telegraph in Australia about the Five Eyes information program. A guy named Mike Pompeo said it back in May, right? President of the United States hinted to it when he said it, right? Overwhelming evidence, I think, is what Mike Pompeo said from the Wuhan lab. The intelligence community knows. It's an open secret they got a biological weapons program. It's when is the West going to have the will? It's like when the Nazis basically said, yeah, we don't think this Versailles thing works for us anymore, started rearming. And, the entire West just sat there and allowed it to happen. You eventually got Poland in 1939. You eventually got France in 1940. You eventually got the Blitz over England, right? You eventually got the takeover of Western Europe. You got North Africa. You had it all, right? You got it all. Because you didn't stand up in 1933, 34, 35. You either stand up or not. They have a biological weapons program. Everybody knows that, right? And they're doing it. Why? Because they can't compete with us with nuclear weapons. They can't compete with us as the military. All these aircraft carriers are building their third aircraft carrier right now. Look, we are the guys that took over. The United States Navy took over from the Royal Navy, right? And about how to what's called fight the ship. It's complicated. Look at Midway. Naval warfare is very complicated. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. That's why the Royal Navy, the United States Navy. That's why the United States Navy won in the Pacific in the 1940s and World War II, right? The Chinese Navy does not have a chance. Here's their chance: 0, right? And they know that. PLA knows that. PLA knows that they can't control the South China Sea. We can, right? So how they do it? They do it on the cheap. First off, they got cyber warfare. They got economic warfare. They have total infiltration into the United States, into our financial institutions, our cultural institutions. We're going to talk next hour. Guess what? The Vatican is getting ready to renew the secret deal. Milesguo calls them out, says, hey, Vatican's taking billions of dollars. Not want crickets from the Vatican. Crickets from the Vatican. They're in every cultural institution we've got. They're in Hollywood. They're in the church. They're on Wall Street. They're in corporate America and the halls of Congress, right? They're funding the story the other day about BLM. They got the relationships with BLM. They're everywhere, folks. Spread money, influence operations. Milesguo pointed out to me yesterday, another Anbon Insurance Company. Remember Anbon Insurance Company? Owned the Waldorf Astoria, I think. Guess what? In receivership in China, another money laundering operation, another influence peddling operation. Anbon Insurance Company, H&A, all of them. Just insane.
Tell me, what does the CCP excel at? Lying, falsehood, and gangster methods, nothing else. Tell me, other than these 3 methods, and stealing on top of these. What is the CCP good at? Tell me. Do you know the extent of the Americans' naivety? There are only those few people, such as Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, Peter Navarro, Mike Pompeo, Steve Bannon. These people stepped forward because they have conscience. Take a look at how much the CCP has lied to, cheated, and stolen from the U.S. You know, when Dr. Yan opened her Twitter account, I thought to myself it would be lucky for her account to last 24 hours. Back then, by the way, President Trump's Twitter account was stuck at around 25,000 followers for 1 or 2 years. I think Peter Navarro's account still has fewer followers than Dr. Yan's. Dr. Yan had more than 59,000 followers after 1 day. What would happen if it wasn't suspended? This is justice. CCP, you suckers. You and your diplomats spew nonsense and venom on a daily basis. Your accounts are not suspended, but Dr. Yan's was. My friends, what kind of reaction do you think? Will this trigger in the West? This is a gift from heaven. If not for the CCP's foolish insolence, Dr. Yan spreading truth about the virus would not have attracted so much attention around the world. If not for the CCP's lying and cheating and stealing, the West would not have felt threatened. In capitalistic society, people worship money, but look at it now. The whole world is moving against the CCP.
Thailand reports first deaths in over 100 days. India logs another daily jump of more than 96,000 infections. Israel goes into second coronavirus lockdown. Iceland orders pubs to close for 4 days. EU travel industry steps up quarantine pushback. Australia to ease border limits, allow more citizens home. EU endorses dexamethasone for patients on oxygen therapy. Canada could lose its ability to manage the pandemic due to a spike in new COVID-19 cases, the country's top medical officer warned. U.S. House condemns racism against Asian Americans.